At this point, I might as well just play a heavily modded Skyrim. I was too late on the Skyrim train, and by the time I was interested in playing it, it was really showing its age. I have only like 20-ish hours on it, not because I didn't enjoy it, but it was just hard to play. I'm not nostalgia fueled in playing this game that makes me put on my, I don't know, 10-year-old boots and enjoy it as if I was 10 years old. I played both Kingdom Hearts 1 and Pokemon Fire Red when I was young, and I loved them. I would be down to do a whole new playthrough and beat them again right now. I mean, I kind of already did this last year with Kingdom Hearts 1, but I would not recommend playing these games to people unless they're really committed into playing the entire franchise. Why? Because they're dated. Kingdom Hearts 1 suffers clunky controls, clunky camera, clunky combat, and lackluster power scaling progression. But back when I played it, and also when it came out, it was amazing for that standard in that time and age. And so when I was hearing buzz about Avowed being the modern Skyrim, it actually got me excited. But I guess I should have tempered my expectations because I was also told that Starfield was going to be Skyrim but in space, and we know how that went. I can't believe people paid $70. No, actually no. I can't believe people paid $90 to play Avowed 5 days early. There are videos that compare Avowed with Oblivion, a game that came out decades ago, and for some reason, Oblivion has better systems and details than a game that's releasing on the PS5 and on Unreal Engine 5, all made by Obsidian, whose track record is actually pretty good. I have never played these games, but I recognize a lot of these games, and I know that many people enjoyed these titles. Titles like Pillars of Eternity, Grounded, Fallout New Vegas. So where did things go wrong with Avowed? The story is atrocious. It's not to the level of Dragon Age Veilguard's boring lectures, but this game is really just a yap fest. It's like listening to an old man that just loves to keep talking. You say that you're late to work and you need to get going, then he puts his hand on your shoulder and says, "I'm done when I say I'm done." There has been times when I would pick dialogue options where it seemed like it would just end the conversation and I just get back to playing the game. Nope, more yapping. And while I was drowning in the multitudes of text, I was wondering and questioning myself if I was the problem and just hated story games. I then realized that I just recently played Final Fantasy Rebirth and was very interested in the story, along with the new Star Rail and Wuthering Waves recent update arcs. Wait, I found free gacha game story more interesting than a AAA game made by the same people with reputable games like Fallout New Vegas and Pillars of Eternity boring? Gacha games are ultimately meant to waste your time, but I found myself finding the story of Avowed more useless. Maybe I'm the problem. I try to get invested in the story of Avowed, but too much exposition makes it feel like I'm not playing the game. When I try to skip through the dialogue just to start playing the game, well, obviously I'm gonna miss out on some context. And there was never like anything in the story that really tried to grab my attention. Look, I don't have that much playtime on Skyrim, and the last time I played it, it was a while ago. But if you ask me what happened in the first hours of Skyrim, oh yeah, so I was about to get executed, but then a dragon started raising the village, then I was able to escape into another nearby village, then I made it to Stormvale Castle or whatever it's called, then I fought and killed a different dragon there, and I gained its powers. Or for Avowed, I crash landed on an island, then left, killed a funky bear in the forest, then got assassinated, then immediately resurrected, then I had to hunt him down. It's just not interesting, and doesn't really get me excited. In fact, I was never excited at all in any of the story beats for Avowed. Sure, the graphics and areas look cool, but it was never incorporated into the action gameplay elements of the story, and so it never made the climatic parts never like otherworldly or exhilarating in any way. It's just lifeless. The companions as well were just bums. You got Fishman, Hooded Grandpa, Miss Crybaby, and Lady Concord. Unironically, Lady Concord was the most interesting written character of the four, but still boring and cringe. People were upset that there was no romance in this game, and honestly, thank God there's no romance in this game. I saw the romance scenes in Veilguard. I already wasted $70 playing this game. I don't want to spend more money washing my eyeballs trying to watch these guys flirt. Okay, but to be fair, they're not as bad as Veilguard characters. They're just not visually interesting and never did anything special or stood out to me, except for Yatzli. And honestly, whenever they were talking, they were, most of the time, wasting my time. I want to quickly mention this, but why do they have to add this ugly fungus thing to the character creation? Sure, it's part of the story, but at least make it look cool. It's so ugly that they even give you an option that you can hide it, but NPCs will see you as if there's fungus on your face, so I don't know, man, I don't know. Anyways, speaking very vaguely, the ending was just very anticlimactic. The way it was going, I expected a much more grander ending. Maybe it was the choices I picked, but I mean, I didn't troll my choices, but the ending just kind of ended. After beating the game and seeing the achievement that I beat it, I said, that's it? I couldn't believe how lackluster it just ended and just how uninteresting the final boss was. Maybe it's different for other people since I made a choice that wasn't the popular choice, but I just couldn't believe how bad it ended. Oh, and there's just more yapping for the epilogue. Great. The open world is pretty open, and although it can be colorful and vibrant at times, it really is lifeless. You can't interact with anything here. The guards, they stare at you. The items on the table, take them, it's not considered stealing. That locks the door, get a free lockpick and open it without a minigame. You see that animal? You can't kill it for materials or food. Sure, it's not supposed to be a one-for-one with Skyrim, but like, what can you do? When I can't interact with anything in the world, how do you expect this game to be lifelike? And if it's not lifelike, it's not immersive. And when it's not immersive, I don't take the game serious. And when I don't take the game serious, it becomes uninteresting and boring. And so knowing that everything is essentially fake, it makes exploring for secrets not that fun. It's pretty much mandatory to stop questing for a bit and just explore. There are no real landmarks or any events that make me stop and get distracted. It was really hard to actively look for distractions. And each ruin or dungeon or house are all pretty much the same. Locked door to the house? 90% of the time you can enter it through the hole in the roof. A good chunk of the ruins and dungeons that are not mandatory to the quest feel copy-pasted. Same enemies, same puzzles, if you want to call them puzzles, and same boring loot. Once you've done it once, you've done them all. So yes, the areas are decently sized. Yes, there are a few secret parkour areas to get unique items hidden away in certain areas, but none of them are memorable. The unique gear I did manage to find is kind of unrelated to the surrounding area, and exploring the zones in Avowed felt like a chore rather than actually discovering the wonders of the living lands. Ironically, the living lands felt like walking through a graveyard with the amount of just repetitive and uninteresting structures that really never sparks my curiosity and wanting to explore. I will give credit to Avowed. I really liked the dynamic camera in this game. Whether swinging a two-handed sword, casting spells, or stabbing someone with a dagger, I really like how responsive the arm model is in doing all these actions. Whenever I got shoved, I can see my legs right before I hit the ground. That with the screen shake and everything, it really feels like I was in that fight. It may not be unique to the genre, but it was certainly something that stood out to me. The problem is that after 5 hours, it just didn't interest me anymore. If they added more animations or different effects like being pulled into something or swiped away to the side, or just anything more unique that really utilizes the dynamic camera, would make it more refreshing as I clock in more hours. But it doesn't, so I've pretty much seen everything within the first several hours of the game. I know this isn't an action RPG like Final Fantasy or whatever, but it never really felt like I never achieved that power fantasy that I expected from a game like this. After 20 hours and leveling up to level 20, I think, my best combo was rooting the enemy, then I do power shots with my pistol. I made it to the end of my skill tree, and if you can call it a skill tree, I look at these abilities, they suck. I look at the UI design of it, it sucks. I felt really slow in leveling up, so it really felt like I wasn't getting any stronger. Especially when most of these nodes here suck. Yes, Avowed isn't supposed to be Skyrim. Avowed isn't supposed to be an action RPG. Avowed isn't supposed to be realistic. Avowed isn't supposed to be a game about looting. Wait, hold on a minute. Why do they have to reinvent the wheel for something like this? Just use a numeric leveling or just use the rarity system that everyone else is using. For some reason, we feel a little special that we have to make a wheel that calculates the circumference of a circle with 3.1 instead of just using pi. Whenever I go fight an enemy, I have to stare at that symbol, whatever this crap is, and figure out if it's a lower or higher tier than my gear. Mother Just use a numeric level system. No one understands your level rarity going from common, fine, exceptional, superb, legendary, with 3 tiers within each of them. Then upgrading your gear needs tons of materials from killing these boring enemies over and over again, and knowing the materials needed is so hard, especially when the game doesn't even tell you where to find it. And synthesizing the right items for these materials so you can upgrade your gear is just unintuitive. Gacha games do this better, and they're meant to waste your time. And if Avowed, a paid single-player game, wants to waste more of my time than Genshin wasting my time... Okay, look, I don't want to crash out. Progression sucks, that's all you need to know. But hey, maybe Avowed isn't a game about progression. Look, Avowed is just bad. Maybe I would feel slightly better if I didn't waste $70 on this game. But even for $30, I would still feel like my time would be valued more in a game like Skyrim or Mass Effect. It's really hard for me to think back and try to figure out what stood out from Avowed for me. Something like Dragon's Dogma 2 wasn't a well-rounded game, but it still had a couple of things going for it. By the time I reached the credit scene for Avowed, I was relieved that I could finally uninstall the game. The story was a boring yap fest that never interested me at any point. The characters were boring and visually unappealing. I mean, the combat was cool, but immediately lost steam after a few hours in, after I realized how straightforward and two-dimensional it is. The world and environment itself is big and colorful and vibrant, but there was nothing worth piquing my interest with no good social hubs or landmarks to really give personality to these areas. Nothing in this world seems to respond to you. You could steal items off of tables in the bar, people don't care. You could shoot people, but they aren't programmed to take damage or even react that you shot a bullet near them. Lockpicking might as well not exist because it's an unnecessary friction since there's no minigame for it. The puzzles were made for kids that put a circle block into a square hole. Avowed feels like a de-evolution of the genre. People love this genre too. Look how popular Skyrim is. That game came out like a decade ago. Look at Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Look at Baldur's Gate 3. These games are immersive in terms of storytelling and its action sequences. I just don't get that with Avowed, and it's kind of sad since this is Obsidian I'm talking about. But if you want your game to be among the giants and be a forerunner of the genre, you have to be better than these games, especially if you're asking for $70. Thank God Monster Hunter is coming out this week. Maybe I'll smile for the first time this month. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to this video if you enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.